There's a mutiny before I even begin the show. Welcome back to Sidebud. I'm Larry Medo. Before we take a look through the week, let's take a look through the week. In fact, this is just literally from today. Let's review one more time.
We've been having a situation in the commission whereby every decision is on the basis of a vote.
For this commission to be able to conduct any other election, a lot of drastic reforms have to be undertaken.
From an operational angle, we are ready for the election of 26 October as directed by the Supreme Court.
The first step, and one which I hereby call for, is an extended period of prayer and reconciliation this weekend.
After the last general election in 2013, it is this home that Baba here agreed to come to shake hands with Uhuru Kenyatta after the Supreme Court had upheld his declaration.
And most important, you guys who are not married, get married.
This is Sidebar Extended. I'm sitting here with a very distinguished, I've been told, what do you call a panel of advocates? It's called a sidebar of advocates. I think I'm going to adopt that. A sidebar of advocates.
Members of the bar.
Members of the bar. Members of the sidebar.
Actually, sidebar is when advocates speak to the judge without addressing the court.
Okay. Dr. Miguna is still here with us. Kipchumba Murkomen, the Senate Majority Leader, is now joining us. Jennifer Shamala, nominated MP, and Senator Mutula Kilozo Jr., of the fine people of Makueni County, and the great people of the Elgeyo Marakwet County.
We call him the Duke of Makueni.
The Duke of Makueni. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about today. We saw in the wee hours of the morning Dr. Roselyn Akombe resigned from the IEBC, and then later today, the chairman of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, gave a statement as well. I want to first get your reaction, Senator Murkomen, to the resignation of Dr. Akombe, especially because she says, as currently constituted, the IEBC is unable to conduct a credible election next week.
Well, I think Dr. Akombe was within our constitutional right to resign. And it was contemplated by the Constitution that there would be a situation where the Commission may not have the full commissioners, 7 of them. Remember that I was part, and Mutula Kilonzo Jr., of the team that worked on the laws that reduced the commissioners from 9 to 7. And we put there that the quorum of the commission is 5. So it was contemplated. It is also contemplated by the Constitution there would be situations like this. I shudder to think that anyone would call it a constitutional crisis, as everybody has now talked about constitutional crisis in this country. You know, as a country, we must have enough shock absorbers to accommodate any challenges that may come. So the only question you ask yourself is that, was it wise to employ someone who had divided loyalty?
What do you mean, divided loyalty?
Now it appears to us, and I didn't even know this, that Dr. Akombe is a citizen of the United States. And
and Kenya?
Yes, and Kenya. And when people say that she fled the country, she didn't flee Kenya. She actually went back home.
So you're saying the reason why she's left is because she's got divided loyalty?
I think going forward, we must really rethink this idea of vetting people who are going to hold public offices, because there's a level of, you see, if Dr. Akombe really felt that the commission is unable to perform the constitutional duties there, she would have said so and sat through to find solution, even if it means changing what they need to change. I mean, the same things have been raised by the chairman. By the way, I think the statement of Commissioner Akombe and the one for chairman are synchronized, almost drafted by the same people. The language is the same, the tone is the same. It was a predetermined decision. The accusations are the same. So for me, if it is true, because it took them this long for them to raise these issues to the public, that they had these challenges they are talking about, patriotism would have necessitated that they would raise it with a desire to find a solution. Now, when a commissioner runs to go and make a statement from New York, then continues to discredit the ones who have remained, who are trying also to continue steering the ship, What is she trying to say? That she wants to wreck the whole institution? That she wants to achieve a political end? Because there must be a difference between how the commission and a commissioner behaves and how we who are playing political different sides are.
Do you believe that the IEBC is still capable of conducting a credible election on 26th October?
Absolutely. Because for me, I think that IEBC is an independent commission. They are capable if they want. In fact, if you read the statement of the chairman, he has said in terms of operations, in terms of technical preparedness, readiness to do elections, they are ready. The chairman is just crying about the new wave of political incitement, violence, and intimidation of the commission to perform their job.
Okay.
He's not saying that they are not technically ready. He's even saying that the ballot papers are ready, TMOFO is ready, technology is ready. He's actually cleared the commission, except now saying that the political environment they're operating in is not conducive.
But he also said that there needs to be changes in the senior leadership of the secretariat.
Well, and that is really what shocks me, because I accompanied the deputy president. First of all, I attended the first meeting of the dialogue with the IEBC.
Right.
And during that meeting, we were asked as Jubilee, what are your minimum conditions? And being cognizant of the responsibility that IEBC has, I was one of the persons, and Jubilee actually made it abundantly clear to the commission that we don't have minimum requirements. If you want to fire staff, you should fire. You have the law on your side that can assist you to fire staff.
Okay.
If any commissioner needs to be removed, there's a process of doing so. We didn't want really to be the stumbling block to what the commission wanted to do.
Okay.
And so when the chairman, the only thing I disagree with the chairman is because he's trying to attack a system of decision-making in the commission, which is provided for by law.
But when he feels as chairman has been overruled in every decision he's tried to make.
As a matter of fact, then that really shows that that commission is democratic.
Okay.
You see, I have been a chair.
But he's not just overruled, he says because of political interests.
The unfortunate thing is that if you have a mechanism of decision-making in the commission, which says you must make all decisions using consensus, but if you fail consensus, you vote. Now, how ironic that a chairman of a commission presiding over elections that is supposed to give a product where majority will have their way and minority will have their say. In other words, that the majority who will be elected will actually be the ones who will be declared. How ironic that a chairman presiding over such a process would complain about the same process being applied in their boardroom in decision-making. And second, knowing that this decision-making process is part and parcel of the law, is the chairman admitting publicly that he has lost his ability to lead as a chairman, so that, he's telling the public that I am unable to make a case for what we need to do, and therefore the commissioners, the six commissioners are able to vote and make a different decision.
All right.
But if you are a Democrat enough, every time you lose a decision, whether it's a corporate boardroom, IEBC, or anywhere, that position need to be respected.
Dr. Miguna, the senator says that Akombe's resignation is trying to wreck the commission. Do you agree?
No, I don't agree. And I believe that typical of the recently remade Jubilee hack, Mr. Malcolm has just spoken like a typical hack. Dr. Akombe's statement is quite clear. Paragraph 3, it says, it has become increasingly difficult to continue attending plenary meetings where commissioners come ready to vote along partisan lines and not to discuss the merit of issues before them. So here you have robotic partisan commissioners that get their instructions from elsewhere. As I have said, regarding Jubilee, there are two Jubilee senior members. One is the leader of majority, the other one is the permanent secretary.
This leader of majority or Aden Duale?
No, Aden Duale.
Right.
That have the remit of giving them instructions. So she has said that. She has not said that they have lost in the discussions. And you would expect that when substantive national issues are being discussed regarding electoral, the conduct of an election, that decisions are made on merit. So what we had today from Chairman Chebukati is that the commission is dysfunctional. He has stated so.
Both
He has
he
also
and Akombe seem to have pointed to that fact.
Correct.
But the argument from Senator Murkomen and Jubilee is that they have a political
Let
agenda,
me
that she's got a
just-
political agenda.
Well, first of all, you know I have heard this propaganda that Chebukati was a candidate of ODM in 2007.
Nkisale.
What people don't understand, because unfortunately for them, I'm a reservoir of history. Chebukati was actually William Ruto's candidate who was defeated in the nomination. He did not come through the so-called Raila faction. He came from the William Ruto faction. So when he was hired at the commission, one would have expected that he came with the blessing of William Ruto. He became now chairman of the commission. And you would have expected that as chairman of the commission, number one, you'd give him due respect as chairman, and you would give him enough space to operate. He says he does not have the space. He says also that commissioners come there already instructed. He also says that subsequent to the Supreme Court order, because this is very important, I have repeatedly heard Jubilee and the press only quote one portion of the Supreme Court order. The Supreme Court said, go conduct elections within 60 days, but they did not just say that. They say, do it in accordance with the Constitution and all applicable laws. You guys have to read it up to the end. What that then means is this. Dr. Kombe has said, the commission is not prepared to do the election in accordance with the Constitution and all applicable laws. Mr. Chebukati has said the same, and he has warned the country. He said, if the individuals he identified, and this includes Chiloba, if they do not step aside, if they do not resign, and he did not say when, he would go himself.
Right.
He also said, and Dr. Kombe said, that the commission as presently constituted is not capable of conducting a credible election. So directly to my brother Murkomen, we are all advocates here, and we have rules of ethics that advocates adhere to. It would not matter whether you come from a party or you don't come from a party. If you go to a situation where the operations of the organizations violate the rules of conduct of advocates, you're not supposed to support that. Now, you don't expect Chebukati to go to a discussion where clearly violations of the regulations of the electoral body are being, violations are occurring, and then you expect him to support that.
Right.
You don't also expect repetition of the same irregularities and illegalities to be happening, and then you expect Chebukati to keep quiet. These two officers, in my view, have two things that the rest of the commissioners don't seem to have. They have a conscience and they have integrity.
All right. Okay. Honorable Shamala, before you respond, I just want to play, because we were referring to the chairman's statement a lot, I want to play this particular bit because it's instructive to the discussion.
I've made several attempts to make critical changes, but all my motions have been defeated by a majority of the commissioners. Under such conditions, it's difficult to guarantee free, fair, and credible elections. Without critical changes in key secretariat staff, free, fair, and credible elections will surely be compromised. I therefore call on the staff who have been adversely mentioned to step aside to allow this project team to function without interference.
Excellent. So he says without changes in the secretariat, the possibility of a free and fair election is not possible.
You know, it's interesting. I've just heard that. Chebukati makes statements, but they're not grounded in this particular statement. I'm talking not all his statements, this particular statement, because they're positive statements he did make, and I want to address those later. And he says that he wants critical changes with regards to the staff, and he wants certain staff. I didn't think he said he wanted them dismissed. Those were not the
He
words.
says they should resign. If they've
Did
been
he say?
adversely
He said
mentioned,
it.
they should resign.
Okay, you
Yes.
know, I think as an advocate of the High Court, as somebody, we espouse, and like my learned colleague Muguna said here, we're advocates. We're not only bound by ethics, we're also bound by rules and the rules of natural justice. So for one advocate to call upon another advocate, which is Chiloba, that you must resign, accusations have been made. What are these accusations? Because it's never quite clear. Again, going back to the judgment, it is said that Chiloba admitted that the results for Forms 34A were actually still coming in. But what had happened is they had announced the forms on the results based on Form 34B. So I think it's a bit unfair to ask for somebody to resign. We don't know what the accusations are. Has there been a hearing? So on that note, I would say that that is unfair. The second thing is that he says he has made several decisions. And again, I want to echo the sentiments of my colleague, Senator Murkomen. You sound like a lone ranger. Why is they not a lone ranger or with this lady who went? What is her name?
Dr. Kombe.
Dr. Roslyn. Okay? So what are the issues? Are you telling us that there are 5 of them? Are there 5 commissioners? And everyone is against you? What is the problem? Because if you're a leader, you must be able to bring people together. But he's not told us what exactly these issues are. He goes on, he says that everything is on course.
Technically, operationally, they're ready for the election.
Yeah, so what if they technically and operationally they're ready for the election? What is wrong? Because let us be very the political environment. We're not talking about let's talk about the law here. So it's the political environment. So what has that got to do with the commissioners? Because we cannot say that Miguna referred to our side or anyone who is with us as being robotic. We all have political inclinations. Every single person in this country has a political inclination. Whether Chebukati is from ODM or he's from Jubilee, he did stand. He was a nominee. Whether he was brought from William Ruto, but he has a political inclination, and so do the other commissioners sitting there. So to suggest that actually I am not able to relate with the others, I think what they need is a mediation process, because he's made statements. Again, he's not told us too much. It is Council Muguna here who is telling us that he has all the details, but it's not Chebukati.
She said something also that you have to respond to. Does the political environment have to do with the commissioners?
It has everything to do with the commissioners. This is a political process. It's not existing in some vacuum somewhere. So it's a political process. It's a political process to the extent that all our elections, whether it's the commissioners, whether it's secretariat, the political will, it's something called the political will. If there was political will, and that's part of the things that I keep complaining about, whitewashing the ills of the August elections, is the political will.
Who is whitewashing the ills of the August election?
All these things that we are doing, election amendment laws, everything else is about not addressing the question. So the political question is, Larry, which even you don't ask, maybe because you don't know, is what is it that we should have addressed after 1st of September that we did not bother to address? Why is it that somebody from Saffron was in Nairobi on August 29th and the servers were not accessed? Why is it that when the Supreme Court ordered for the servers to be open, they were not open? Why is it the question that a server is in France, why is it in France? Some fundamental questions about the structure. So even I don't believe the statement by Chebukati that he is prepared, because he is not prepared by answering the questions that bedevil this commission
Would Chebukati only be prepared if his preparation met what NASA expectations are?
No, he would be prepared if he addressed the problems that were there in August. It's called, even when you make law, you address a mischief. What is the mischief that the judges in the Supreme Court were trying to address? And why is it they say that if you don't address this mischief, if you come back to us again, our decision will be the same? We have never gotten to that argument. Now, I want to address Kipchumba Murkomen on divided loyalty. I don't think it's fair to say that Dr. Kombe had divided loyalty, because first of all, the Constitution allows dual citizenship. 2, she was vetted, and I assume, therefore, that everybody who was sitting in that panel, and Murkomen and I sat in that committee, where we appointed church leaders to be the one to do this, I don't believe that they did not do their due diligence. But let me say something. Towards the end, Samuel Kivuitu, and may his soul rest in peace, regretted his position. He regretted not making some decisions. So to a large extent, Dr. Roslyn Akombe has done what most of us in public service would not dare to admit. And says this, like Murkomen, if some Murkomen knows something is wrong and is the majority leader, he will possibly run away from the house and not say it. But to get to that point and say, ladies and gentlemen, this is wrong. But let me go back to something that we passed in the select committee that all of us are not addressing. What was the problem with the previous commission is that the previous commission was putting its hands in every little thing. They were buying stationery. So we sort of put a strata where the commissioners would only deal with strategy and things that are oversight. Right. Chebukati, under Section 11A, as the oversight, he has the sole oversight mandate for the presidential election, which is something very unique that is assigned to him by law. So when Chebukati says that as the person in charge of oversight, I am not getting support from the rest of the commissioners, I am unable to make decisions with regard to a person who I think is an impediment to my work as oversight, we should not call it a weakness. Although Miguna will agree that that is a weakness in itself, but there is a problem. And the problem can only be that the secretariat to whom they are supposed to take instructions from are taking instructions from other parties.
So the secretariat is taking instructions from other parties, but the commission is also taking instructions from other parties.
By the way, it's only through... It is only through... Miguna really fears me talking. I don't know why.
I fear you?
Yeah, because, I mean, honestly, every time I open my mouth,
it's like saying a lion fears a puppy.
No.
Ouch. That's not fair, Miguna. Senator.
You know, every time I want to talk, Miguna really feels agitated.
Senator, please go ahead.
Talk.
Despite the fact that he gets airtime the whole day in all the media houses. So I just wanted to say...
So you see me even when you're sleeping.
Everywhere, you're all on. Which, I mean, anyway, I don't want to go there because we don't want to have a personal discussion. First of all, there is an admission from, there is a detail that Miguna has that all of us don't have here. He seems to know who is doing what in the commission and so forth. Is that an admission that the chairman and Commissioner Akombe is working with Miguna and NASA? Because,
I'm not in NASA.
Because, of course, I mean, anything that looks like NASA, talks like NASA, walks like NASA is NASA. And you know,
Miguna, are you going to let that fly?
Imagine.
No, but it's a fact.
He's a duck. I don't respond to ducks. He's quacking.
Yeah, you see.
But his accusation is that what you've said appears to be in lockstep with what NASA says. You respond to it. Senator.
Not even that. He has made personal admission on Twitter that despite writing books castigating the former Prime Minister, telling us he goes to... He's a person who goes to witch doctors. Now he will support him. That's a story for another day. But the point here...
You digress too much.
The point,
the issue.
Yeah,
I will come. I will respond to you.
We'll come to that. The point we are discussing here is that it seems that the commissioners, it seems therefore that these two commissioners who are working in already prepared script, because you can't tell me that 7 days to elections is when Akombe and Chebukati realized there's a problem within the commission. That's not true. When we went for the meeting with the commissioners in Bomas, we have the write-up. They gave us NASA and Jubilee and say that we are ready for the elections, we have no problems. The chairman read the statement himself. He said, we are very ready for the elections. We have irreducible minimums of NASA. Where are the irreducible minimums of Jubilee? When Jubilee said, we have no irreducible minimum, but we're willing to discuss anything. So the first thing that is really slowly appearing is that it looks like it was already scripted, that former Prime Minister would resign with Kalonzo, they will get out of the race, withdraw from the race. It will be followed by Akombe, then Chebukati, and then there will be a mess, and the whole place will look like the way now many people think that it's happening.
So are you saying that Chebukati is also about to resign?
Well, Actually, this statement, it is Miguna who said here that Chebukati has said, which is not in the statement, that if Chiloba is not fired, he will resign. You see, Miguna, Miguna assumingly is sharing information he has
Did you
from.
say that?
Yeah,
No,
he
I
said-
never.
You
no,
can
listen,
replay.
Listen to me.
You can replay.
Can I respond?
Yes,
you can
sir.
replay. No,
You
let me
can-
just complete.
No, let me respond to that specific point.
Yeah.
I listened to Chebukati today speak, and Chebukati referred to his memo, the long memo, where he mentioned that certain people would have to step aside. And everybody is aware that the person that managed the elections of August 8th was Chiloba. He stated that these people would have to step aside. I just illustrated that.
No, but
to then
but
use that,
let's
no,
make
to
an
use
admission.
that to say
Let's make
that
an
I'm in
admission.
contact with
No,
Chebukati,
let's make the
it's just the usual meandering of Jubilee.
No.
You have no facts, you have no logic.
Meguna,
You're just
it can
meandering.
be replayed. Because in the first
I know what I
comments,
said.
That's precisely why I responded to the issue of the
in
rules
the
of
comments
natural
he made,
justice,
he said
asking
that Chebukati has said clearly, and I hope it will be replayed because I was listening. He said that Chebukati has said if he is not Chiloba is not going to leave, he is going to resign.
Are you inferring this from his memo? Are you inferring this from his memo to the CEO?
Listen,
but we have the record here. Why are we arguing? But
no, I want to understand the basis of why he said that.
The problem
Because
with the
he's the next
comment is
person
that he did
responding.
not listen to Chebukati and he has not read Chebukati's
Hang on, but Miguna, what you said,
ignorant.
you didn't say that, but was it in reference to his statement today or from his memo to Chiloba?
Both.
I didn't see he didn't say that today.
He did not mention Chiloba, but he said the people I have identified that must resign.
Yes.
He didn't even say it that way.
He said
that's
there
what he
needs to
said.
be
He
did
personnel,
say,
key personnel
I listened
changes.
to Chebukati speaking to the nation, and I've read his statement.
Okay,
But be
finish.
it as
I
it
will
may,
respond.
be it as
Right.
it may, it seems therefore that there is a script out there that was supposed to be played by the two commissioners, by the chair and the other commissioner, if you can infer from that statement. Number two is I want to say that the worst crisis that one can put this country is to make it impossible for elections to be done in 60 days. And for anyone to pontify here and say that the commission was told to do it under the law, of course we know it. They must do it under the law and the constitution. The argument we are making is that under whose judgment will the declaration of whether it was free, fair, and credible elections will be?
Okay.
It is the court. And that's why the court preserved for itself and told the commission, go and do your best. Come back to us. And if you do not have achieved the standards we require, we will return you back.
In fact, let's
Number
speak up on
three-
that, Senator. Let me just
number
cut in
three.
right now because I want us to make shorter statements so we can move around the table much faster.
No problem.
Because the president and the deputy
No, I
president,
just wanted to
Miguna,
answer the issue of Chebukati being William Ruto's candidate in 2007. That is
Yes.
laughable. William Ruto was not
You are
running
not
for president.
there. You are
William
not
Ruto
there.
was not running for president in 2007.
He did.
There was
he
only
contested the presidency of ODM.
No, can you
William
listen?
Ruto actually did.
Can you relax? He was
Senator.
not. He might have contested the primaries and finally supported
did.
Raila Odinga, but the candidates who were running that time were ODM candidates. And like my friend Miguna, I don't fault Chebukati for running for office.
Okay.
And I don't think it's an issue.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because for me,
Yep.
running for political office is the greatest sacrifice anyone can make in this country.
Senator,
so I don't think
can I
that is
yes,
a
I want
basis
you to respond
for his
also
argument.
to what the president and the deputy today said about going back to the election.
Okay.
Wanataka kuandaa uchaguzi, wanapigwa sehemu zingine za Kenya, ati hawawezi kufanya mafunzo yao ya kufanya uchaguzi wa uhaki na kupatia Wakenya nafasi ya kuchagua viongozi wao. Wewe Bwana Odinga, kwa sababu tumekubali haki yako ya kukaa nyumbani, kwa nini unafikiria ya kwamba wewe uko na haki ya kukataza Wakenya wale ambao wanataka kupiga kura wapige kura?
On the 26th of this month, and that vote is unstoppable. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how much you demonstrate. It doesn't matter how many conditions you give. It doesn't matter how many resignations. We are ready, and Kenya is ready for election on the 26th because Kenya cannot be held hostage.
Dr. Miguna, is that vote unstoppable and Kenya is ready for the election on 26th?
No, number one, what I'm seeing are not leaders. I'm seeing demagogues. I'm not saying leaders.
That is the president and the deputy president of this country.
And I am calling them demagogues.
Why would you say that?
Excuse me, please.
No. I can't excuse you.
Why would you call the president and the deputy president of the country demagogues?
Let me explain.
Larry, we must agree.
Have some sort of
we
decorum.
must agree. If there will be no decorum in this debate, there's no point for us.
Exactly. We've got to have some respect.
Lives under this illusion that he's been licensed
believe in freedom of expression.
Dr. I agree with the senator. Dr. Miguna, why would you call the president and the deputy?
We don't have a debate.
Why would you call the president and the deputy president such
Am I going
name,
to be
sir?
subjected to heckling or am I going to speak?
No, sir, but you need to qualify or withdraw that statement.
Okay,
sir.
do you know who a demagogue is?
Go ahead and justify
Yes, but
why
you have
refer-
to allow me to say so.
Sir, go ahead.
Yesterday, when the former Prime Minister and his team wanted to go to Meru, Jubilee people demonstrated in Meru and burnt the place where they were supposed to go.
There was a clash between
just
NASA and
let
Jubilee
me
supporters.
Let me finish. The police stood there and supervised the destruction of where they were supposed to do. When you compare, excuse me,
I can't excuse you.
No, you're not going to stop me from speaking.
I can't excuse you.
So what are you going to do?
Hang on.
What are you going to do?
Gentlemen,
I'm going to
no,
speak.
gentlemen.
No, you can't.
We can't do that.
Listen,
gentlemen.
I'm going to speak.
Senator, please let him finish and then you can
You
advise.
cannot continue insulting people.
No, I'm going to speak.
No, we cannot accept that.
Gentlemen.
Miguna, you are used to insulting Esther Passaris and the likes of this one. We can't allow you to do that.
Gentlemen,
We cannot.
Miguna, could I ask
you know,
hang on.
You either have me or have me.
I'm not going to
Senator,
I
I invited both of you because we appreciate your points of view.
But you see, I kept quiet when he was speaking.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so you have to keep quiet when I'm
could I ask that
speaking.
you use respectful language?
No,
for the
I'm going to
purposes?
finish.
Then
I'm
go
going
ahead.
to use the language I have to use. A demagogue is an English word, and I'm going to use it against
Yes, sir,
William
I
Ruto
understand
and
that.
Uhuru
Hang
Kenyatta.
on,
cannot accept
hang on.
And I'm going to explain why.
Then you need
Yes,
to, and then the senator will have a chance
no, but
to
you have
rebut.
to let me speak.
Then go ahead, sir.
If you're not going to let me speak, then there is no need to invite me.
You're
here.
yelling at me, sir.
Yes, but you're letting him yell at me.
No. We
I am
don't
not going
want
to be
anybody to
intimidated
yell,
here. Yes.
Dr. Miguna.
So let me speak.
Yes.
The two gentlemen are demagogues. Yesterday, when the NASA team wanted to go to Meru, they planned. Their teams were going there. The place where the rallies were supposed to happen had been prepared. Their supporters were attacked, supervised by the police.
Allegedly, we cannot confirm
I am
that.
going to speak.
No, sir. When you
on.
come on my show, we will have certain. If I cannot prove something, you cannot say it just because you have facts that are
Are
not
you
available to me.
saying that rally was not disrupted?
It was disrupted.
Are you saying that the police did not stand by and watch as it was being disrupted?
We do not have any evidence to
No,
that
but I
effect.
can speak from my perspective because I watched the
You are
same
not
thing.
there,
Perspective
sir. You
is
are
not
not there,
reality.
sir.
It's
See,
not
the
reality.
problem is that when he was speaking about
No,
Chebukati,
Senator, please let
when
me
she
finish.
was
There must be level of
abusing
responsibility.
Sir,
Dr.
because
Kome,
you and I were
That's
neither.
not abusing.
but
I
you
was-
know that she
she's-
abused
she's-
Dr. Kome when
she
we were
is
right here. You did
treacherous.
not stop
She
her.
is treacherous.
She said
She
treacherous.
You had a
swore
chance to
uphold
respond.
this
but I kept
constitution.
quiet.
But then you responded.
No,
to
that
I
is
kept
treachery.
quiet.
Dr. Miguna,
I kept
In the United
quiet.
States,
she
she'd have
called
been
Dr.
tried
Kobe
for
treacherous, and then you had
And
a
I
chance
kept
to,
quiet.
and then you responded.
Yes, so why
that-
don't they let me speak?
That's what we're giving you
No,
a
but
chance
you're
to
not
do so.
allowing me to speak. You're telling me that I cannot call these guys.
Again, you're yelling at me,
No,
sir.
no, but you're telling me that I cannot call them demagogues. I'm going to call them demagogues. I'm
You
going
need to
repeat
go
it.
to the point, sir. You're yelling
I
at
am
me right now.
repeating it.
Yes.
All right? He was yelling and you did not stop him.
He was not yelling at me, sir.
He was yelling at me.
I'm trying to get people to stop
So
yelling at
what
each
I'm
other.
trying to tell you, Larry, unfortunately for you, I am not easy to shut up. You are not going to muzzle me.
I am not trying to muzzle
So
you, sir.
let me
I'm trying to make sure that everybody gets an equal
Let
contribution.
me respond to what they have said.
Yes,
and
go
I'm
ahead.
going to do it in my language.
Go ahead.
And you're not going to dictate to me how I'm going to speak.
The language,
So-
as long as the language is respectful, sir, I'm happy to allow it.
Listen. There is nothing disrespectful about calling demagogues demagogues.
Sir, you need to move. You need to move on. Yes.
I was trying to explain to you, and nobody's going to distract me, that what they did yesterday was completely unacceptable. How was their reaction? When you look at what they have been doing in other places where NASA supporters have been demonstrating, whether it is in Nairobi, whether it is in Migori, whether it is in Siaya, whether it is in Kisumu, is brute force suppressing these people. They have been calling the former Prime Minister, Mr. Kitendawili, they have been calling him, and he has said so, about all manner of things. So what I'm trying to say is this. That's not the language and behavior of national leaders. Having said that, specifically in response to what this gentleman said, Kriegler chaired the Kriegler Commission. Was Kriegler Kenyan? No, he wasn't.
South African.
Was Kofi Annan Kenyan? No, he was not. So just having foreign nationals making contributions to our national good is not something that we've not had. So to say that Dr. Kombe is a dual citizen, when in fact she applied for the job, she was probably even headhunted, she was interviewed, then she was vetted by Parliament, is preposterous. Now, number 3, these 2 Jubilee hacks have said that...
There you go again, sir, calling people hacks.
No.
There you go again, calling people hacks.
I mean, yeah, you know, either you have enough English in your
Dr.
dictionary, but
there
it
you
does
go
not
again,
get
calling them
abrasive.
hacks.
We're not going to accept this. We are not going to
I agree.
accept
You
this.
can't
This is
call...
not going to be a place where it comes to where you come to start abusing a
What have
particular
they called me
site.
just
Okay?
now?
No, sir.
Continuously. He's abused the president, he's abused the deputy president, he's abused the secretary general. It's unacceptable. No. Take charge. We can leave. You stay alone, you talk by yourself. No.
Senator, wait. No. You were called something and you said you're not in NASA.
And they can respond.
Hang on. Lady and gentlemen, hang on.
Only abusing people here.
When I was invited to this show,
Yes.
I was only told Mutula Kilonzo Jr. will be here.
We did.
If I knew that
Yeah,
you
we
would have
can't.
heckling
Hang on.
and bad language of Miguna, I would
What
not have
are we teaching our children and
we
everybody?
did
I mean,
publish
is
it.
this abusive words?
Lady and gentlemen,
You need to
please.
relax.
Lady and gentlemen,
Wait,
we did publish
Larry,
a
let
full
me ask
guest
you.
list.
You offered me cold water. What did you offer?
No, I
This week?
Jennifer, I need to take a break. But we haven't had your voice for a bit. You want to respond to what is being said
did
here?
not finish what
Sir,
I
you've
was
taken
saying.
quite some time. We'll come around to you.
No, but you are interrupting me throughout.
You are calling people
You know,
hacks.
No, but you're just
Oh,
interrupting me.
there we go. Now I'm pouring tea on my
No,
script.
I think you
You have lost
guys are
Jennifer,
You have lost
no sir.
You're
Jennifer,
used to being suppressed
Jennifer,
by the
please.
so-called government team.
Respond to what?
I
There's
am
been
not
so much
intimidated by
heckling
them.
and so much noise.
Yeah.
Respond to what?
You are the one
we
making the most of noise.
maintain our position. I
Right.
maintain the position. She swore to uphold this constitution. She ran away. Chebukati hasn't run away as of yet. I don't think he's going to run away. I think, and he at least espouses the values of Article 10 of the Constitution of this country, which is patriotism and unity. And herein lies the problem.
Right.
When you have dual nationality, maybe it's not such a good idea for you to take up a job like that. Because as I sit today, I don't have a visa. I am not sitting on a visa. I can go to an East African country or Ethiopia. All right? I don't have a visa. She had that luxury. We, as Kenyans who sit here in this country, some of us who don't even have passports, we don't have that luxury to go anywhere. So she has split loyalties, and she's definitely not patriotic.
It is claimed that the deputy chair of the IEBC, Connie Nkatha, also has dual citizenship. It is alleged she's dual citizen of Kenya and Australia. So are you saying she's also unsuitable for that job?
If indeed, we must actually look into that. It should be revisited. It's a very, very important issue because actually, if you have split dual nationality, you may have these kind of officers, and we must question these things. Why it was even put in our constitution? Why for the judiciary in particular? And why for the independent commission?
So constitutional commission.
Yes,
Senator.
I agree with Miguna that there are foreigners who have made great contribution to this country. The only point we are making here is that the idea that someone has a safe haven elsewhere
and we don't.
would be an incentive for them to do what they want to do and run.
Okay.
Number two, the reason
Joe, the Senator wants to respond to that specific point.
Respond to me on that, but I just want to say this. The reason why I really disagree with us using very heavy language here, either in relation to individuals or communities, is because we are 7 days to an election that is really being dogged by so many kind of things.
Right.
And before I came to this show, I called Mutula Kilonzo Jr. And I told him we are going to TV at a very difficult and sensitive time.
Right.
That we will go and make our points which are divergent and sometimes they can converge, but we must always be cognizant of the fact that the time we are living, we must give our people hope and a language that can unite people.
Split loyalties.
And I'm going to ask that the management provides air conditioning for this.
It's getting hot in here.
We've got air conditioning for the viewers.
Yeah, it's too hot. You even pouring tea on
I'm pouring tea on my computer.
Let's go back to the dual nationality.
Yes.
Shakespeare called this much ado about nothing. Because there are people who sit in this country pretending to be Kenyans and are less patriotic than the people who possibly, who like Sachs, Judge Sachs, who was here, and many others.
Right.
That is not an issue. It cannot be an issue because there are many people who have, and many people in the political elites who have their hearts here and souls outside the country, and they are still serving people who are keeping money abroad and keeping investments abroad. Right. There's no contradiction between the fact that somebody has a home in London and maybe has a home in Kenya. And many of these people, including Paul Murkomen, have bought a plot in Dubai.
Is there a plot they sell in Dubai?
Yeah, on the beach. Jamira Beach. I will take you there. Let me tell you, you've not traveled. Look. We've been hanging around Banalgeo Market for too long. Listen.
No, I'm local. That's why I want this country to be safe.
Yes. Chebukati makes a very critical, and we are forgetting. The Director of Public Prosecutions after September 1st issued an order. That order to investigate persons in the commission cannot be ignored. And that is why he says, I am convinced that without critical changes in the key secretariat staff, we may not have a free and credible election. My view from this statement, and where he says that I asked all those people who are mentioned adversely, these are the people, if you remember the memo of Chebukati to one Ezra Chiloba, the 38-year-old Kenyan who doesn't want to leave office, that there are two fellows who created a password in the name of the chairman and used it 9,000 times. It's those sort of things. But I can imagine where the gentleman is seated from, where the chairman cannot even instruct his CEO to leave office. Okay. When Kivuitu was the chair of IEBC, we didn't know who the CEO was. Well, ECK, yes. We didn't know who the CEO of that commission was.
Because of us.
Because that is such an internal issue that it will not play in the public domain.
All right.
And therefore, as far as I'm concerned, Larry, let us go back to the issue.
Gentlemen, I want to just take a quick break right now. We'll come back to all of you.
But Larry, I think you're muzzling me.
I am not muzzling you, sir. I'm trying to make sure everybody gets an equal contribution, equal time.
I may not have to come back just like you did.
Everybody, please stay with me. Nobody's leaving this like a WhatsApp group until we're ready. Please stay with me, Dr. Miguna, Senator Murkomen, Jennifer, and Senator Mutula Jr. will all be back with us. And I think we've been asking where that Roselyn Akombe interview is. We'll play it after we come back from the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sidebar. We're running long. Everybody is still here, which is a good thing. Nobody has left at the group, as the young kids say. So I'm really excited. Thank you for staying with me, because we're talking about one of the solutions that has been presented is Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta should get into a room and talk, the two of them. Is that a solution, Dr. Miguna?
No, but I did not, first of all, Larry, I did not get the opportunity to respond to the other thing.
Because that's an easy answer.
No, I think that is a cop-out. And I also did not like what the president said today about, oh, let us pray. We know what is going on in the country. And this is not a game. The country is under occupation.
By whom?
State police occupation. Jubilee has unleashed lethal force against NASA areas, particularly Luo Nyanza, and areas in Nairobi where Luos live. I'm going to say this, even if you have to kick me out of your studio, because it is the truth.
I hope I don't have to.
No, but I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and make you guys feel good about yourselves and singing platitudes when people are being butchered every day. And then somebody comes with some phoniness that you just have to sit in a room and do some kind of dialogue, number one. Number two.
To support what you've said, there's a protest planned for tomorrow. It's called
Stop Killing
Us.
I'm not, please. Number
it's supporting your point of view, Dr. Miguna.
No, let me deal with your issue. Number two, Larry.
Yes.
We are here because elections were rigged. Let us not play around with words. Somebody or a group of people deliberately committed illegalities and irregularities. They did not get These things did not happen because the building, the IBC building, did them. They did not happen because some machines malfunctioned. Somebody deliberately did this. Mr. Chirchir, for example, is said to have used his own, and I saw it in the court-ordered report, his own email address and accessed the IB server numerous times.
He denies that, and the chairman, the CEO, sir, it's still on you. I just need to talk about that.
But let me just finish.
The CEO, Ezra Chiloba, sir, we need to go point by point. The CEO, Ezra Chiloba, when I spoke to him where you're sitting, he said that was the same access that was given to all the other candidates, the other agents of the other parties.
Quoting Chiloba is like quoting a convicted criminal.
You see,
he's not a criminal.
I said like,
See, it is
the English language is like.
Keep going.
He has absolutely no credibility in the Republic of Kenya.
That's in your eyes.
Chiloba cannot come here and then you put his word against mine when he was the CEO of the electoral body that bungled the election that was nullified.
Great, next.
So, the fake forms that were used, the results that
Which do you believe claims NASA planted in the system?
Are you now working for Jubilee? Because can you just allow me to finish what I have to say? Then you can ask your questions.
I am giving you, sir.
Please, I know what they are saying, but I'm not dealing with what they are saying. I'm making my own statements.
Go for it.
I am saying, as found by the Supreme Court, forms were altered. They were in thousands. Results were altered. The system, the server was infiltrated. There were serious issues with that election. That is the issue that we want to be addressed. So this is not an issue that you expect President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Right Honorable Prime Minister to sit down and resolve.
Okay.
Now, these things cannot be resolved in the next 6 days. You can't have them resolved in the next 6 days.
So the election cannot take place in the next 6 days?
They cannot take place because remember what Chiloba said 3 days ago. He came and published a statement saying that they already configured only the names of Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga.
Yes.
Now, they did this without a court order. The court had ordered them to conduct fresh elections, but they were doing a runoff.
Okay.
Nobody ordered them to do that.
All right.
So clearly, no election can happen as ordered by the Supreme Court on the 26th of October 2017.
Senator, no election can happen because that's what the NASA, in fact, today Raila Odinga said that they're changing a rallying call from no reforms, no elections to no elections on 26th October.
That must be the reducible minimum number 15 or something. But first of all, I want to say this, that we have never opposed the removal of anybody from IBC. Not Chebukati, not Chiloba, not the commissioners, not the secretariat. We've always told the IBC to do the right thing. If it is the right thing for them to say so-and-so should leave, if it's the right thing for Kombe to resign, if it's the right thing for Chebukati to leave or the commissioners to leave, we want to go on record as Jubilee as having respected the independence of the commission. And there is no single day you've had us say so-and-so must be fired or this. In fact, there was a memo that came from the Secretary General saying that we don't trust a certain stuff.
Yes.
But later the party met and said we don't have a basis of making those allegations except to the statements we see in public.
Okay.
And we say that we trust the commission as it is until and unless they find within their ranks the people they want to remove. So what I wonder is how has Chebukati now just woken up 7 days to elections to realize that there's some stuff that must be removed? And what has he been doing even before last elections not to remove them? Number two,
now you're opposing.
Number two.
No, let him finish.
Number two is election. They think election was rigged. I think it's, with due respect, there is nobody who has declared that elections were rigged.
NASA has been saying that repeatedly.
But they said that the courts
for them.
didn't.
The last part is the question you've asked me. They're saying there will be no elections. They are not saying there will be no elections because elections has not been organized by IEBC. No. They are saying there will be no elections because they will make it impossible for IEBC to conduct elections. Exactly. And if you saw what's happening, and unfortunately, it's happening in Kisumu and Siaya and a little bit of Homa Bay. But I haven't heard of Homa Bay as such. It's Kisumu and Siaya, where you have this situation where people who don't want the elections And I'm really sad that I saw my colleague Fred Outa, who is a senator of Kisumu, today handling a lady. And that lady was slapped publicly. And I don't see even any outrage, whether in social media or anywhere, because when NASA does something, it's right. If it was Jubilee that had done something like that, it would have been an outcry all over.
Okay.
So the point we're trying to say here is that some of the things that Kombe has raised, some of the things the chairman has raised, is because the political environment is being polarized in a few areas to make it impossible for the IEBC to do their job.
But if I may say, I want to interject here because I have something important to say. NASA...
Are you saying Senator Utela has
Sorry.
important to say?
I know, it was continuing with
No, please.
if you don't mind,
no,
yeah?
please,
I think it's because you can take it up, because it's also contentious for you. You know, NASA went and filed a petition in the Supreme Court of Kenya. NASA knew very clearly that if the Supreme Court would rule in their favor, which they did, we had to hold an election within 60 days. NASA presented the evidence. NASA made the allegations. My question is, why would you go and file a petition which gives you 60 days as per a court order, knowing that you only have within 60 days to run this election? Why refuse to file a petition and say, you're fine, you can go ahead, you're president-elect, and you be declared president, and from there we'll do no reforms, no elections. Okay? Why do they wait for this and then say, we want no reforms, no elections? Every messaging they're sending, one day, was it yesterday they said the demos are called off?
Yes.
Yeah, I suspect it had a lot to do with the siege at Muthaiga. The demos were called off, okay? Another day, we are calling off the demo. We are going back to the demos. They're going to rallies.
Hold that thought. Demos. You're talking about demos. Hold that thought. I want to play for you what Raila Odinga said about 26th October.
Yes, we
talking
heard.
About
now
demos.
they're going to make the country ungovernable. They're going
That's
to
not what he said. Honorable Shamala, one second. Let me just play what he said and then you come back.
Kwa hivyo tumesema siku ya Ijumaa tutakuwa tunaomboleza. Siku ya Mashujaa tutakuwa tunakumbusha watu wetu wote ambao wameuawa na polisi tangu mzozo uanze mpaka leo. Sawa? Maandamano itaendelea. Na tarehe 26 itakuwa ndio maandamano kubwa zaidi katika Kenya mzima.
So the big demonstration, the mother of all demonstrations, on 26th October.
So they are going to infringe on the rights of those who want to vote.
He has previously said that he's asking the supporters to demonstrate peacefully.
To demonstrate peacefully.
Yes.
And have they demonstrated peacefully? Have you seen? Muguna goes on about how they have been shot. First of all, there's investigations.
They have been shot.
There have been people who have been shot.
Can I finish?
Go ahead.
Yes, by police.
Hang on.
They have been shot by police
forces.
The investigations are not yet over. Yes. We then heard, let me finish. I heard our Secretary General Tuju sit on one of the TV stations and telling somebody the Nairobi business community is not in Kisumu. This week we now hear reports of somebody in dreadlocks shooting somebody, then removing the bullet, and of course to force the narrative that this is now the Nairobi business community having moved to Kisumu. Please, we understand these things. I want to say something very, very important, and I don't want to get interrupted, and we're not talking about it. What is happening in Kenya happened in a country called the Ukraine in 2013, 2014. Demonstrations went on from November, December, January, February. What did they do then? They infiltrated the city, shot into masses of people. They wanted the president then.
Who shot into the masses?
Militias funded by George Soros. It's known history. You can Google it as we sit here. People were killed, demonstrators were killed, and the president was run out of town.
Are you saying that's what's going to happen in Kenya?
I'm not saying that's what's going to happen because we're having this discussion. They are making a situation which is so intolerable, where there is so much anarchy, that either we have, although they deny it, a caretaker government, or we have a revolution. Because when you say you will have the mother of all demonstrations on the 26th, what about me who wants to go and vote?
Isn't there right to demonstrate as the Constitution allows?
On the day that I want to vote, And I bet you.
What is wrong with
let
that
me
if
finish,
it's,
let me
if it's
finish.
constitutional
On
and
that
peaceful?
day,
Peaceably and
I'll tell
unarmed,
you
like the
why
law
it's
says.
going to be the mother of all demonstrations. Because as of now, they have wanted to demonstrate in the Central Business District. The day we're going to vote, it has to be the mother of all demonstrations to stop us from voting at the polling station.
Senator Mutula, is the intention of NASA for a revolution or a caretaker government, like she says?
No, nobody's interested in a caretaker government, but allow me to go step by step so that you don't distract me like you have been doing with Miguna. And in fact, I'm going to offer you a book. It's called...
Senator, make your point.
Called,
Senator, make your point.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to offer you a book on your birthday. It's called Talking Less and Listening More.
You should ask questions.
I am moderating. Senator, I am
listen.
moderating the debate.
Yeah, but you're talking too much.
Go for it.
Now, Miguna raised an issue, and you challenged him about this access that was given to presidential agents. I've not seen a rebuttal or information from Chiloba that all the presidential agents were given the access that was given to Chirchir.
It was done.
Those allegations have not been confirmed.
It was done.
Number 3, Kenya is in a hole. And when you're in a hole, you stop digging. Let me tell you, we are seated here, we are having some cold water and laughing. But 6 days or 7 days from here, Kenyans are going to lose their lives out there in the streets. And since we occupy privileged positions, we are not going to be shot at or our homes are not going to be raided. It's an unfortunate discussion. What we should be focusing on, Larry, and that's why you're not asking the correct questions, is how can we avoid a situation where Kenyans lose their lives? I'm sorry to say, we have failed to, and I call it I call it the Njoki Ndongo syndrome, denial. We have failed to
What system?
Why is it Njoki Ndongo syndrome?
But why Njoki Ndongo, please?
You deny.
Look, no.
Why
Again,
don't you let the senator finish and then you can respond?
You deny the obvious.
But she just spoke.
You deny the obvious means that we have failed to agree that there was, forget about the word rigging. Let's say there was no rigging or there was no word used in the Supreme Court called rigging. Somebody, a Kenyan, sitting in IEBC or any other place interfered with the last elections. We didn't just go back to the elections for the sake of it. What upsets me the most is that the president has signed a supplementary budget of 12 billion shillings. And Larry, you don't ask those questions. Nurses have not been paid. We are paying 12 billion shillings for an election. And the people who have caused us to go back, none of them has been brought to book. Not even one secretary. That is the problem about this country. And when we sit at this table again, 10 days from here, we'll be asking ourselves, how can we stop the violence from happening? 2007, somebody should have made the right decision. Let me tell you, the situation you are in now is both a legal and a political crisis that requires leadership. In a place like this vehicle has no brakes and it's moving into a cliff. That's what they call the brink of the precipice. Read that book. And the report by the Kenya National Human Rights Commission on the 2007. We should have stopped somewhere. In this one, we should have stopped at some point. And let me tell you, whether there are demonstrations, whether people go and vote, whether others boycott, if this election proceeds in the environment it is, there will be no legitimacy. People agree to be governed. These things called, like the Jasmine Revolution you saw in places like Morocco, began on very small triggers. There were no big things that happened in the Jasmine Resolution. Just one fellow on the streets who didn't get a job or was denied a job. And then you have mayhem. So, as leaders, and the majority leader is seated here, and people who sat to try and find a method of how we can have an election. And we have people who are saying you can't have an election. People are going to be on the streets while others are voting. Where do you think women are going to be in this country? Larry Mado, I'm telling you, you guys enjoy taking pictures of things that are happening on the streets, people being shot. But let me tell you, 26th is not going to be a birthday for Uhuru Kenyatta. It's going to be a very bad day.
We've been told.
Why will it be a bad day?
Let me say something.
I just want to follow up on that point. Why will it be a bad day on 26th?
It's going to be a very bad day because on that particular day, a sizable population of this country is going to demonstrate. Those demonstrations are going to be violent.
Why will they be violent?
They will be very violent, and I can tell you. The police the 15 or 17 trucks that are traveling to Western Kenya are not carrying mangoes or vegetables or carrying food aid or unga to go and give. They are carrying guns. Those guns are going to be used. Those guns are going to be used against innocent Kenyans. And if it's not call me back, I will give you something for this bet.
So the police intend to violently break up the demonstrations on 26th October?
They will.
I think, Larry, first of all...
So my point is, how do you prevent that situation?
Okay.
Can we prevent the Armageddon of Kenya on 26th, where Kenya moves forward without having a disputed election that is not conducted?
Larry, let me comment.
Really quickly, because
Larry,
I want to play the bit of the Akombe
I think
interview.
he brings a very important angle. It is unfortunate that the Jubilee side and the press have been focused on property, which in fact the majority of the NASA demonstrators have not inflicted any significant damage. Most of the so-called Nairobi business community have seen them, have been involved in all manner of violent activities and even theft and robbery. But the brutality with which the demonstrators, many of whom are just carrying twigs and tying bandanas, and the gentleman that was just bedecked in fake oranges, this has gone on. The kind of death, the kind of maiming, the kind of torture that have been inflicted on innocent, even children. And I have the videos and pictures, and the media have this kind of thing. But our friends on the Jubilee side don't say anything about them. Now, Mr. Murkomen said, and I believe my friend Shamala talked about the 60 days. You see, I've heard many people say, and I agree with them, constitutions are made by human beings for themselves. Human beings are not made for the constitution. So 60 days is there, but that is not it. It is not written on a rock and that it cannot be changed. It can be changed. And if Chebukati knew the law, Chebukati was competent and was allowed space to operate, instead of going with that nonsensical question that they went with to the Supreme Court 3 days ago, which the judges
laughed at. About his role in verifying?
Yeah, and said, what are you doing? Either you are incompetent or you are mischievous. But there is no reason why you are coming back to us with this question, because we've been very clear.
I've asked you this before the last time you were on the show.
Yes.
When this 60 days lapses, there are a lot of people that say we'll be in a constitutional crisis because the constitution does not speak about after that 60 period.
Of course there will be a constitutional crisis, and we are deep in the middle of a political crisis. My view, and I've stated it before, Uhuru Kenyatta's term ends on November 1st. His temporary incumbency ends. The temporary incumbency was not contemplated to last for 20 years. So that if you have a despot who does not want to leave power, he would just bungle election after election so that he can continue to be a temporary incumbent.
Okay.
After that, then we will have to decide who serves in the interim as we prepare for the elections.
Okay.
And when I say we, I mean the Kenyan people. And it is not a laughing matter. And it is not a situation that is going to be dictated by how many guns you have or how many police forces you have. Because I must remind my friend, there are 45 million Kenyans. There are maximum 200,000 armed forces, including the police.
All right.
So they're not going to shoot everybody.
You're laughing at he said that President Kenyatta's term ends 1st November.
I think we have too much negativities, too much negative prophecies about what will happen in 26.
It will be a bad day, Senator Mutula says.
It will be a bad day, it will be Armageddon.
Yeah.
I think it will not.
They're preparing for it.
I think it will not. There will be small crises in some places where NASA demonstrators, maybe Kisumu, Siaya, Homa Bay, and Migori, where they will try to block. By the way, I have maximum respect for Mutula Kilonzo Jr. and leaders who come from his area, neighboring counties, because even when they don't agree that they will go for the elections, they have behaved in extremely civilized manner. And this is what democracy is all about.
You're just not attacking them with guns.
It is a very civilized way of doing things. Number two is So therefore, people will not kill themselves. I want to start by saying that.
Kill themselves.
I want to start by saying that.
Please don't interrupt.
Unlike
No, I'm just asking, did they kill themselves?
Unlike 207, 208, I don't foresee a situation where civilians will get into each other. Have policemen killed some people, or some people have died during the protest? Yes, and it's regrettable, and it must be condemned. And I hope that the policemen will prepare themselves for this very difficult time to deal with rowdy and sometimes armed protesters in a manner. We've seen also policemen being hurt, and I hope that this situation, this madness, can come to an end. When it comes to property being destroyed, it's a fact. You know, I find it very unacceptable that Miguna calls himself independent, but everything he talks is to attack Jubilee. He says nothing about NASA. He says nothing about the responsibility of the leader of NASA. If you really, truly love this country, would you call for a mandamano the day we are going to vote? Let me tell you something that Motola did not tell you. And of course, what he was saying, he knows that he's revealing something that's being organized by NASA. What's being organized for 26 is to make it impossible and scare people to come and vote.
That's what,
And you saw that already in Kisumu. You saw the officers being attacked. You saw the POs being attacked. Now, let me ask you, Larry, if elections do not take place on 26th of October, and I want to say this with no fear of any contradiction, if it doesn't take place on 26th of October, no elections will take place in this country. You know why? You know why? Every time a person senses defeat, you just need 1 month before elections to come with unfulfillable demands, call them irreducible, lock together your tribe, even if you are in 2 or 3 counties, ensure that in that county nobody votes, and you negotiate for Nusumkati. If we really truly believe in our democracy, we should allow those who want to vote to go and vote on 26. We should allow those who don't want to vote on that not to vote on 26. We should go to Supreme Court again after the elections. Ask the Supreme Court what happened on 26. Let the decision be done in the courts. If the courts say we need to go back to elections,
so we do an election at that time.
If the Supreme Court says we need to have another fresh elections, which gives us 60 days. Those who wanted credit time can go for that time. But as it stands now, we cannot foresee this nation, the worst crisis that will happen in this nation, if on 26 elections is not done, and we reach 31st of October and elections not done, on 1st of November, we will get into uncharted waters and the country will be
But let me
in a
add
situation of
on
anarchy.
to that. This talk about temporary incumbency, let that also be very, very clear. Temporary incumbency kicks in when you're a president-elect, and it's very, very clear. So this talk of if we don't have an election in 60 days, and then he is no longer president, they should tell us what they plan, because there is no other system of government that you can have. It would not, we are being told here that constitutions are not written on rock. The only way to change this constitution is either in parliament or through a referendum. There is no other way, unless you're calling for the overthrow of the constitution.
That one I can
and
help
when
you
I
very
let me
quickly.
finish,
Let her
please.
finish.
But I can help
no,
her.
no,
Let her
I
finish.
didn't ask
I
for
will wait her
assistance.
Yes,
Yes.
but
great.
I will correct
Okay,
her.
unless you're calling for the overthrow of this constitution. When Muguna says that Chebukati should have gone to court, it says the election should be held within 60 days. It is in this constitution. Perhaps he will tell us, and we can always learn from novel ideas. But what I am saying, as we speak, we can go on and on and on. And if the entire motive is to ensure that you scatter the election, you either have a caretaker government, a Nusu Mukati government, or a complete overthrow of the elite. Because none of us will survive. Uhuru Kenyatta remains a president with full powers.
2 questions, because Senator looks like he's about to hit the door. One, what is NASA's idea of what happens next? Because if you don't want this election to happen on 26th, and then we get to that uncharted waters from 1st November, how does NASA foresee this playing out?
That's a difficult question, but I will try and answer you. And let me not pretend that I am aware of what the party leader of NASA is thinking. The fact is that post 26th, it's not even post 26th, it's the evening of 26th, 5 p.m. You're going to have a nation in absolute crisis, where you have part of the country voting, part of the country not voting, returning officers attempting to get to constituencies, some will not get there, etc., etc. Let me say this. Somebody made a statement and said, people don't kill themselves because they fear death. Sounds like a contradiction. But somebody also mentioned that the problem with this country is that we have never gone to a war, so we don't realize the vagaries of having a war. I'm speaking so plainly to say that it is pretentious to assume that we don't have a crisis. And it's pretentious to assume, and I think Akombe mentioned it, that you can proceed irrespective. And I had these statements from the beginning where they said, oh, we have numbers in the Senate, we will proceed without NASA. We have numbers in the National Assembly, we can proceed without NASA.
We can even change the Constitution.
We can even change the Constitution. Now the narrative is this. We are going to have an election irrespective of what NASA thinks, what NASA feels, whether it's irreducible or reducible, whether it's 1, whether it's 2, wapende, wasipende. That is the narrative. So, to say this, things are going to fall apart, quoting Chinua Achebe. And when they fall apart, life is going to become what Hobbes used to call it, nasty, brutish, and short. Breakdown of law and order. And that is something that this country must avoid. I've asked this question, I've posed this question. What is the magic about 26th of October? What is the magic about presidential candidates that is bigger than the nation called Kenya? What is it?
So what's the solution?
You're
telling us how it will be brutal.
I've posed the question.
What is the solution?
What is so big about 26th?
You've posed a lot of
for
questions.
You?
What is the solution?
But I'm helping you think.
What is the
I'm
solution?
trying to help you
good,
think. What is so big about 26th, other than the fact that it's the birthday of the president, that is so big that we have to avoid it? I'm asking you a question.
Do you think, Mutula, this problem is only one-sided?
That is why I'm asking you.
Do you have a problem with Raila calling for Maandamano on 26th? Do you have any problem?
No, Maandamano is
demonstration.
The election.
No, do you really have a problem with it?
No, because
you don't have a problem.
About him calling.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
No, you have told us. You have told us. You have told the people. You have warned the people. It will be brutal. It will be Armageddon. We understand exactly what you're doing.
That's okay. But
let him finish. If
you don't have a problem, if you don't have a problem with Raila calling for Maandamano 26, stop pontification. No. You speak here as though you are the Mr. Clean Man. Yeah. Yet you cannot see that there is a problem with someone calling for a Maandamano on an election day. My friend, stop the lies and pontification. I mean, you have said a lot of English.
I've not apologized. And I will not apologize.
No, but you're part of the problem.
We will pick it. Mahatma Gandhi, let me tell you.
Let him finish, Senator.
Maybe what you're doing in Makweni is picketing. And I agree it is, but not what is happening in other places.
Maandamano is demonstration.
Hang on.
Not even on
Ladies and gentlemen.
People can even picket on Sundays. There's nothing big about 26.
There is something big
picket and demonstrate.
There's something about
it.
And
it is supposed to be
But they've told us it
peaceful.
will be Armageddon.
Yes.
It will be
This will become
they will, it
will become violent.
Shamala.
It will become violent when the custodians of through the police use tear gas, use live bullets as opposed to rubber bullets against innocent people.
We're not with the country.
Because one other thing that the senator said before we wrap it up, one moment. One other thing, he said if there's no election on 26th October, there will be no election.
Yeah. So we will just be doing what
Senator Murkomen said, if there's no election on 26th October, there will be no election in this country.
Yeah, let me respond to Senator Murkomen. You see, this is what they have been planning. It is beautiful the way they are putting it. The reason why the elections of August 8th were bungled and were rigged is so as to institutionalize despotism so that elections don't matter. He asked me the question, why is it that I am blaming them and not NASA? I will answer him very crystal clear. Number one, NASA did not rig the elections. They could not have rigged against themselves. No, let me finish. Elections were rigged.
By who?
Elections were bungled. NASA was the victim of the bungling of the elections. President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy, William Ruto, gained out of that bungling.
The Supreme Court said they had nothing to do with
it. No, listen to me. No, they said elections were bungled.
Yes, true.
No, listen to me, please. That's not what I said.
Midnight.
I said they benefited.
Nothing.
Can I finish?
No, there is no need.
No, please don't heckle me.
There's no need.
They benefited from the bungling of the elections. That's number one. Now, NASA called for demonstrations, which are constitutional.
We are all in this situation.
No, can I finish?
We are all in this situation because
they are constitutional rights that NASA supporters and their leaders wanted to exercise. Jubilee decided to turn guns against NASA. I cannot blame NASA for holding demonstrations. They have been mainly completely peaceful. They have been unarmed. Number three, who called the courts Wakoras? It was not NASA.
Oh, come on.
It was Jubilee leaders who called court Makoras. Who called the Supreme Court judgment a coup?
This subliminal
it
narrative.
Was, please don't heckle me.
We're not heckling.
Please let him finish and then you can respond.
It is President Uhuru Kenyatta, his deputy, and people like Murkomen who have been calling the decision a coup. Who has been talking about it must be the 26th? So that it makes it impossible for someone like Chebukati and his group to go back to the Supreme Court because they are under pressure from the state. And you can see Chebukati is visibly scared. So clearly,
I think Larry,
no, listen to me, please. Let me
please finish, Honorable Dr. Miguna.
When it comes to issues of fact, when it comes to issues of truth, when it comes to issues of justice, I stand on the side of fact, truth, and justice.
And that's the side of NASA?
No, I did not say it's the side of NASA. No. If it happens that NASA is also talking about the same thing, I don't really mind. I don't have no problem.
Can I ask you a question?
You have a problem
with
you are heckling.
No, he's asking you a question.
Mandamano on 26.
Mandamano can be every day.
Larry,
even on the
as we leave tonight, Larry, as we leave tonight, I think what is very important for us to understand very clearly, because I understand what's going on. The threat, the fear is being instilled in the people of Kenya that it will be Armageddon on the 26th. Remember one thing, it's not only the police who has the monopoly. They have the monopoly of they have the arms, but it's not just the police. Don't make the assumption that it's just the security agents. And we were shown as much. Of course, we were being told those were old guns. There was a raid in Malindi. AK-47s were found. So when you start
15 guns. What is 15 guns? Even if they were
that's
found?
what happened. We will talk
more. Come on, 15 old guns. You guys are ridiculous.
Are you diminishing the
Of course I'm diminishing them.
I thought there were 4.
Come on.
One AK-47.
You guys are jokers.
These are my last remarks.
Yes,
These are my last remarks. Then you can continue the rest of the debate. I think that we have a problem. We have a big problem.
The problem is you heckling instead of listening.
You're also now heckling me.
No, but he heckled me throughout.
No, sir, let the senator speak.
But you didn't stop him.
I did.
No problem.
Senator, let him please speak.
And the problem we have is this problem. The problem of preaching violence, of planning violence. If there is any message I can give Kenyans today, is that we have challenges in the next 7 days. It probably will go beyond the 7 days. But as a country, we've come from worse challenges than what we are facing. There is a solution for every problem. But above all, there is God. This country has survived not just because of human ability, but because God loves this nation. And as long as our intentions are positive, are good, even when we may not be right in what we are doing, but we are trying our best to fix things as they are. If Chebukati really believes that the statement he gave us today, that he's working hard from his heart to ensure that he fixes what he talked about, and he wants to do it tomorrow, the day after, and so forth, he has our support. And every Kenyan should leave home there knowing that even when we leave here, I will meet Mutula Kilonzo out there, I will meet Junet out there, I'll meet Mbadi in Parliament. We laugh, our children go to the same school, we have privileges that they don't have. The minimum we should do as citizens of this republic is, first of all, to ensure that we act and work peacefully. The rest of the problems of trying to push one person to get to office, by all means, we can sort it out politically. But two is that I appeal to the age and the experience of Raila Odinga. that for an old man who is above 70 years, God has already blessed him abundantly in terms of life and experiences. He's a privileged son of a former vice president. I want to appeal to his conscience that you have a right not to participate in the elections. You have a right to be aggrieved. You have a right to challenge these elections. But please, don't plunge this country into chaos on 26th of October. Thank you very much. And
last
I
remarks?
leave,
Yes, last remarks. Last remarks. You made your last remarks. At least you listen to the other people's last remarks. Senator.
I will listen.
They don't
No.
They don't care about our remarks.
Yes, last remarks, Senator.
I read a statement, and allow me to read it. Stanley Githunguri went to court in 1985 against the Moi regime, which was harassing him, and he wanted a prohibition. The same thing that was happening to Jimmy Wanjigi over the last 3 days. And I commiserate with the gentleman for the harassment he's receiving. And these 3 judges said this, and I want to repeat it for the sake of those Kenyans who feel so aggrieved that we are headed into a place where nobody is listening to them because they are in the majority, they don't care. Tutapita bila nyinyi. If it's Makueni, they don't care, they will win without campus. And they told Githunguri, when you live here, raise your eyes to the hills, utter a prayer of thankfulness that the fundamental rights, your fundamental rights are protected under the juridical system of Kenya. For purposes of those few Kenyans or the many Kenyans who believe that their voices have not been heard, their fundamental rights to an election and political rights will be violated because they will be shot. Just know, one day, the people who have caused this mayhem in this country will pay for their sins. Thank you.
Final remarks, ma'am.
I totally agree. One day the truth is going to come out, and it's going to come out very, very, very soon on who it is that actually wants chaos for this country. But as we stand here today, I want to tell Kenyans, indeed, we are here. I call him Yahweh Elohim, the one I pray to. He's the one who lifts this country, who keeps this country, and it shall be well. And let nobody intimidate them. The narrative being passed out there is that if you go out to vote, we will cause chaos so that the police can shoot us, and we will ensure that there is no election.
Final comment, sir.
Larry, in 2007, 2008, me and Murkomen were on the same side.
That's true.
And
oh, look, you agree on something.
And the police butchered ODM supporters. And it later culminated in the ICC cases. This is a repetition, except that Murkomen has left and has joined the butcherers.
No.
Now, I am going to say,
excuse me, again.
That kind of
No, Larry.
Please let me finish.
Let him finish and then you can
Let me
respond
finish.
if you disagree with it. I know you made your final comments, but you have a right to
Larry,
right of reply.
I am not going to sugarcoat what has been happening in Nyanza. It is butchering of unarmed, innocent civilians. I am going to say this to the country. Revolutions are made from blood.
Are you advocating for violence?
Let me finish.
No, I'm asking a question about something.
Let me finish my statement.
No, sir. I moderate debate.
Larry,
I have
am
a
I
right
going
to
to
ask you a
finish my
question.
final submissions?
Because you
or
said
not?
something that people might
Can
find.
I finish my statement,
Dr.
Larry?
Miguna, Dr.
Can I
Miguna.
finish my statement?
Sir, Dr. Miguna.
You see now,
No.
I keep quiet when everybody else is speaking.
I have had follow-ups for the senator, for the MP.
I'm going to finish my statement.
It's something you said.
You can't cut in between before I finish.
I think I
You
can
ask
cut in
me-
because this
well,
is my
then
show.
Then you can cut me off and
This
tell
is my
me-
show, sir.
No,
I will ask you a question because you said
Larry,
something which
I'm
I don't
not
want
going
to
to come back to
disappear.
the show because you are misbehaving.
Yeah, well, you'll not come
The
back to
word
my show.
revolution is not
sir.
violent.
You
I'm
said
going to use the
revolutions
word
do not
revolution.
happen without blood. So I'm asking, are you advocating for violence? It's a simple
Larry,
question.
I'm going to finish my submission.
You did not answer the question.
I'm not going to answer your question.
Then if you don't want to answer my questions, don't come on my show.
Larry, I'm not going to ask.
Dr.
I am going
Miguna,
to finish
if
my
you do not
submission.
want to answer my questions on my own show, don't come on my
Because you
show.
cut me in between.
We'll leave it there then.
Larry, I am not going to tolerate your misbehavior.
And I will not tolerate your,
Yes, so
your
I will not come back to
inability.
your show.
Then don't come
You're
back.
not a journalist.
Great.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it
goodness,
there.
my
Jen,
goodness.
Did you want to respond to...
No,
you've done the butcher.
You're not a journalist.
Can I take over your show?
No.
This is good.
I think it's a
Larry,
simple
you're not a
question.
journalist.
If you come on my
You're
show,
not
then
a
you must take
professional,
my
you're not a
questions.
journalist.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's perfectly all right.
Well,
Sir.
You
If
cannot stop
if
me
you will
from
not answer
speaking.
my questions, you will not come
I
on the
will
show,
not
sir.
be interrupted and then you expect me to answer. No.
Excellent. Then we will not.
Because you have to-
Then
you
we
have to
will
let
not
me
have that
finish.
situation happen on my show.
Yeah, then I will not come.
Don't come
You're
back,
not
sir.
God.
Don't come back, sir.
Ooh la la.
But thank you for your time today. I appreciate that. Thank you
Thank you,
all.
Larry, for inviting us.
Senator, MP,
Asante sana.
Dr. Miguna, thank you for
you
your
very
time.
much.
We're going to leave sidebar there. In fact, I'm going to leave you with the last part of my conversation with Dr. Roseline Akombe, the IEBC commissioner who just resigned in the wee hours of this morning. The chairman's statement that you referred to says that the IEBC is technically and operationally prepared for the election next week. Do you agree?
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that the ballot papers will be printed on time. I don't doubt that the ballot boxes will be delivered on time. I don't doubt that the papers and the pens that will be used for an election will be ready. What I have been saying is that we cannot just have an election. It has to be a credible election. We had an election on the 8th of August that was voided, that was invalidated by the Supreme Court. So that is not the kind of election we want to have again. We want to have an election that is credible, an election that we can all be proud of and say that, yes, this reflects the will of the people. Yes, we have been able to bring more inclusivity into the process. We have brought everybody along to the process. That is the kind of election that I would like to be associated with.
Dr. Akombe, do you believe that the August 8th presidential election was credible?
You know, I believe very much in a lot of the work that we did towards the 8th of August election. You will recall even the chairman speaking today, he talked about the fact that the atmosphere that we have right now is very different within the commission than the atmosphere that we had before the 8th of August election. So when I look at the results of the 8th of August election, they pretty much reflect the will of the people. Were there mistakes that were done in handling the Supreme Court orders? Absolutely, yes. And that is what has been, you know, that is why I have been attacked on many occasions, because I was raising that and saying that if you have secretariats responsible for the implementation of the Supreme Court orders, you needed to take action against those staff who did not comply, who made us lose billions of money that we had spent in the last election.
That said, with the current political environment, should the IEBC carry out the election next week?
You know, Larry, we can go ahead and have an election next week, but it is not an election that one could consider that is a credible election. So we need to choose as a country. Do we need to just go on with the election for the sake of ticking the box that we've had an election? Or do we want to have a credible election in place that doesn't return us back to the Supreme Court, that doesn't return us back to street protests, that doesn't return us back to the 2007-2008
Right.
situation?
So are you saying that if the election on 26th October goes ahead, it will return us back to the Supreme Court?
I mean, I do not see how it cannot, because of the, you know, the environment, you know, some of the actions that we have taken. Look, I'll use a very simple example on transmission of results. You know, one of the issues that led to the invalidation of the results was the electronic transmission of results. We tried our best to ensure that we reconfigured the system to allow for the transmission of results to be both the text and the image. That is a commitment we made. That is what we published last week as part of the things we are doing. But now we are coming out and telling you and telling the Kenyan people that we can't be able to send the text results either,
Right.
because it's too late for us to be able to add the rest of the candidates there. For me, this is the time by which we should have come out and said to the Kenyan people, or to the Supreme Court, that look, this is what you asked us to do, but because of these other issues that have come up, we cannot be able to reconfigure our systems to allow us to proceed with sending both the text and the image results. Give us more time. Let us have more discussions. Let us see how we move forward with this. That is what I mean when I say that you do not want to have, you know, the main issue was electronic transmission of results. You do not want to go back to the Supreme Court with that being an area of contention again.
Should Chairman Wafula Chebukati resign, as some have asked for him to do?
You know, that is his decision. I really don't want to make that decision for him. I applaud him for being a very good leader, for being somebody who's very calm, who has his heart in the right place. He wants to do well for the country. He wants, you know, as somebody who was a victim, as he said himself, of the 2007-2008 violence, he does not want to lead that country to violence. He's staying there because he's trying to make sure that we do all we can to avert a situation that is worse than it is right now. I failed in being able to stick along for as long as he's willing to do so. I hope that the Kenyan people will give him a chance to be able to lead that commission to something that is much better than what we have right now.
Both of you talked about how divided the commission is. How divided exactly are commissioners of the IEBC?
I mean, the chairman made it very clear. I mean, he already said how he loses his motions. He's not able to approve, get things that are approved the way he wants. And, that is really the nature of the commission. That is what it has been for a few months. But also what we have is two centers of power. So you have the commission on one hand, which is one center of power, and then you have the secretariat on the other hand, which is a center of power. And politicians on both sides find it fit to pit one side over the other,
right,
which makes it very difficult for the commission to be able to do its work well.
It was reported that at plenaries, you and the chairman seemed to be aligned, but there were other commissioners on the other side that overruled almost everything that you tried to do. Is that true? And how far did this go?
I mean, that is a true reflection of what it is. And the chairman, in his own statement today, has reaffirmed that. And, this had been going on for a while now. And when you get to an issue, to a point whereby issues of safety and security of staff even become things that people want to decide and vote on whether you are going to ensure that before you deploy staff to train in other places, where we had protests at the time, you need to be cautious. If you cannot agree unanimously on something like that, it shows you that that commission is moving forward. Larry, to be frank, what really broke my heart, what really made me make this decision in the end to leave,
right,
was my visit to Siaya, it was my visit to Kisumu, it was my visit to Homa Bay. I saw our staff committed to do the right thing, but they kept on asking me, Madam Commissioner, did you have to get to this point? Couldn't you have sought the Supreme Court's decision? Couldn't you have asked the Supreme Court to give us more time so that we can bring everybody on board?
Right.
Must we have a commission that is this way?
Okay.
And I was helpless because at that point, I know that Chairman Chebukati had put forward that proposal. Chairman Chebukati had suggested we go after the withdrawal of Raila Odinga, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, that we should seek the intervention of the interpretation of the Supreme Court.
So why didn't the IEBC seek the interpretation of the Supreme Court after Raila Odinga withdrew?
I'm sorry, Larry, I missed that point.
Why did the IEBC not seek the interpretation of the Supreme Court after Raila Odinga withdrew from the election?
Because the majority of commissioners did not want. They felt that, somebody has a choice, that Right Honorable Raila Odinga had a choice and he chose to bail out of the election and we should just proceed with it. And as I said, when you are in a situation whereby you vote over everything, including that, what was the chairman left with?
Are you saying that the IEBC commissioners is tilted more in favor of Jubilee?
I mean, look, I'm not here to classify people one way or another. I know that I am already being branded one side or another, which I am not. I'm not going to go into the same situation of trying to brand people one way or another. All I am saying is that we have commissioners who have made it impossible for the chairman to make the changes that he would like to make. He has made an appeal to those commissioners in his statement today, and I'm hoping that people will heed his call, that people will look seriously at what is going on and stop pretending that everything is okay. Everything is not okay. We have a political problem. We need to solve that political problem.
Your statement is in many ways in step with what NASA has been saying all along. Did you hold brief for NASA at the commission?
I don't hold brief for anybody. I did not hold brief for NASA. I did not hold brief for Jubilee. I have been accused on social media of being a Jubilee mole. I have been accused on social media of being a NASA mole. And where I come from, when you have people from both sides attacking you, then you know that you're being impartial. And that is what I have tried to do because I care about this guy. Larry, I didn't have to take this job. I did not have to take the job of commissioner at the IEBC.
Right.
I did not have to. I took it because I thought I could contribute something to my country. I thought that I could be given a chance to be able to redeem the country so that we don't go back to 2007, 2008 situation. But we're heading right there. We're heading there without looking at the repercussions of the actions. The selfishness of the politicians in Kenya is going to lead that country to a disaster. We have to avoid that. And when I took this chance, I thought, let me come out and speak out. I could have left quietly and come back to the comfort of my job. But I decided to speak out because of patriotism, because I care about that country, because I love that country. It has given me, it has made me who I am today.
But people will say that's easy for you to say when you're a dual citizen of Kenya and the US, so you can easily run off to your other country. For people who don't have that choice, they're stuck here.
And that is why, because I know that I have an opportunity that other people don't have. I have an opportunity that Chairman Chebukati have right now. That is why I'm here to speak out. Speak on the behalf of those people who want to do the right thing, but don't have the opportunity that I have, that want to do what is right for the country, but don't have the voice to be able to speak out. So I am speaking out today. I am speaking out because I care for that country. Why? If I did not care, I could have come quietly and stayed in the comfort of my house without speaking to anybody or without saying anything more.
Will you come back to Kenya?
I would love to come back to Kenya. It is my home. That is where I was born. That is where I was raised. But I know that the current conditions and hearing all the rhetoric that I've had from politicians today, that I don't have space in that country for now. But I'll continue serving in whatever capacities from wherever I am.
So you are in fact on self-imposed exile?
Well, there are times when that has to happen, and it has happened that it is my turn now to play that part.
The chairman's statement, Chebukati, today said that without critical staff changes in the secretariat, it is impossible to have free and fair elections. And he called on secretariat staff that have been mentioned adversely to step aside. How far should this go? Should the CEO, Ezra Chiloba, resign?
I mean, I have said that very clearly on many occasions. It's just that our voices sometimes fizzled out. That you have a secretariat as another power that manages the entire process there. It is important. I mean, in other places, it is Ezra Chiloba who should have resigned, not Roselyn Akombe.
So, under what circumstances do you think the IEBC can still carry out the election next week? Or at this point, do you think it's just impossible to do so?
Larry, not as currently constituted. Yes, they can carry an election. They can proceed and have an election, but it will not be a credible election. It will not be a credible process.
People are criticizing you for having done this. At least one cabinet secretary, Najib Balala, said that if the country burns, you should be held personally responsible.
If this country burns, if our country burns, clearly there are many people that should be held responsible. And the reason I have not waited until we start killing each other before speaking out was basically to do that, to prevent us from getting to that point. So we are at a point whereby I believe we can still fix the problems that we have. It is not too late. We do not need to use violence. We need to be frank with ourselves and say, let us come round the table. This is a political crisis. We need to come round and address it. I have heard this from President Kenyatta today. He is appealing for prayers. We need to go beyond prayers. We now need to come together as a country to be able to solve the problems around the table. They are political problems. You cannot expect the commission, as currently constituted, to resolve those political problems. We just need to come around the table, as we have done in the past. We are a resilient people. I believe that we can come around the table and solve our problems and avert going back to the 2007 and 2008 solution. There is still time.
Why didn't you speak up a week ago? Why didn't you speak up a month ago? Why didn't you speak up and resign just after the Supreme Court ruling? Why now?
Well, you may be aware that I have written 2 detailed memos to the chairman and to my fellow commissioners. You might have also, if you are paying a bit of attention, you might have noticed that in the last few weeks, I have been talking a lot about the credibility of the election. When I was briefing the observers a few days ago, I gave an example of a country where I worked, where the technical preparations for the elections were perfect. But we, as observers in that country, had concluded that although the technical preparations were perfect, the conditions for free, fair, and fair elections did not exist. I have said these points in the boardrooms, and that is why I have been a victim of those phone calls. I have had some members of parliament, following the news. I even had one of them who is who had been called, who had been sent to come and tell me to resign in September because I was giving people a hard time. She had been asked to come and talk to me and tell me to leave in September because I was being tough-headed. I was asking for Ezra Chiloba and others to resign, and that they could not resign. They could not leave. They were never going to leave. So I have left that space for them now.
All right.
Because they had told me very clearly that it was either me or them. And so I believe that they now have opportunity to be able to replace me with somebody that can be able to carry the water for them.
Speaking about that political problem you mentioned, there have been two solutions. NASA has irreducible minimums. They say they will not go to the election unless these are implemented. Jubilee has amended the election amendment laws which are awaiting presidential assent or whatever he will do. How would the effect of these, what would the effect of these be on the election? NASA's irreducible minimums or Jubilee's election amendments?
You know, and that's why I have been saying that in such an environment whereby you're having people, you know, using threats of protest with the irreducible minimums, when you have political parties using their parliamentary strength to make electoral amendments, that is not the right environment to continue working, you know, preparing an election on. It is not the right environment. Both actions do not help the country. They do not move the process forward. And that's why I keep appealing, as the chairman has appealed, that let us come around the table as Kenyans. Let's try and resolve those things. Those irreducible minimums should be a subject of discussion among the political actors. Those electoral amendments are things that are supposed to be subject to discussions among the political actors. My appeal, Larry, really, and I'm sorry I have to rush out, is that as a country, we really need to come together and seriously look at this. I am okay with being vilified. I am okay with being called names because I think I am playing a role of bringing out the issues that people don't want to talk about. People do not want to face the reality and say, this is where we are as a country, let's come together, let's solve our problems. I have the faith and optimism that we'll be able to resolve them as long as we come around the table and discuss in frankness and sincerity.
Finally, there are people who are portraying you as a traitor. Others see you as a patriot. What do you make of this firm divide within the country and how your role in this has been seen?
You know, my mother and father raised me all the time to say the truth. And what they have raised me to do is to stand by the truth at all times. I was not going to disappoint my parents by not standing by the truth. So I don't mind whichever names that people would like to call me. All I want to be remembered for is that I have stood up for the truth. I have stood up for what is right. And I have stood up for what is right because I care deeply for that. And I do not want to see that country go down the drain. So if my coming out and being insulted will bring some consciousness in us as a country, then so be it. So I don't mind those names. I don't mind the name calling. I don't mind what I'm seeing on social media. But if it will resolve, it will bring some sort of reality to our political system, then that will be my joy.
All right, Dr. Roselyn Akombe, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have to run out. We appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
All right, Dr. Roselyn Akombe, former commissioner of the IEBC, speaking to us out of New Jersey, where she is, she says, on her own accord, in self-imposed exile after leaving the IEBC just 7 days or so from the election.